By the early 1970s, George Harrison was no longer the quiet Beatle, waiting patiently for a spot between Lennon and McCartney. He had stepped into his own light, spiritually, melodically, emotionally, crafting songs that carried a gentler honesty than anything the Beatles had done before. And at the center of that transformation stood a single track that even producer George Martin, the man who shaped their sound, quietly praised above all else: Something. To Martin, it wasn't just George's finest Beatles-era work. It was proof that Harrison had finally become a songwriter of breathtaking clarity and grace. George wrote Something, not through thunderous inspiration, but through a kind of calm searching. He wasn't trying to outdo John or Paul. He was simply following a melodic intuition that felt pure, unforced, almost whispered. The guitar line arrived first, gentle and curious, followed by chords that sounded like someone opening a window to let the light in. What made the writing remarkable was its simplicity. George didn't dress the idea in metaphors or clever phrasing. He let the emotion speak without decoration, trusting that sincerity was enough. Harrison often joked that the lyrics came from somewhere else, and in a way, he meant it. Something in the way she moves wasn't crafted to be poetic. It was a feeling he couldn't quite name but knew was real. He wrote slowly, revising only what felt dishonest or forced. To George, the song wasn't about anyone specific, which made it even more universal. It wasn't a portrait, it was a reflection, a feeling captured rather than explained. When he brought Something into the studio, something unusual happened. Lennon and McCartney, two of the most competitive songwriters in history, stepped back. They didn't try to change it, reshape it, or stamp their identity on it. Instead, the room shifted around George. Paul crafted one of his most elegant bass lines. John added quiet support. And George Martin, recognizing the beauty in its restraint, let the arrangement bloom naturally. Strings that lifted the melody without overwhelming it, giving George's voice the room it had always deserved. Martin rarely made definitive statements about best songs, especially when it came to comparing the Beatles to one another. But Something was different. He called it a masterpiece, praising its balance, its sincerity, its emotional precision. For a producer who had worked with the band through every chaotic transformation, this was not a casual compliment. It was acknowledgement, recognition that George Harrison had written a song equal to, and in some ways surpassing, the greatest works of the Lennon-McCartney catalog. Something has a way of floating above time. It isn't bound to the psychedelic era, nor the rock rebellion of the early 70s. It exists in a place of quiet truth, soft, vulnerable, sincere, and perhaps that's why Martin admired it so deeply. It didn't try to shock or impress. It didn't chase innovation. It simply spoke from the most honest corner of George Harrison's heart. And listeners could feel it, then and now. For George Harrison, Something was more than a song. It was the moment he proved, to his bandmates, to his producer, and to himself, that his voice mattered just as much as any other in the Beatles. Martin saw it immediately. The clarity, the gentleness, the emotional truth. And that is why he called Something the best thing George Harrison ever wrote. Not because it was perfect, but because it was genuine.